Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Jen James. Jen James is a mindful business coach from Toronto, Canada, with a passion for producing film and television. She is a co-founder of Admit One Productions and founder of Double J Lifestyle Consulting and Coaching. This year, with her partner and husband, Courtney, she is launching her first online program, The Art of Mindful Storytelling. This is a program to help entrepreneurs and business owners master their storytelling. It will help to build confidence, trust, and stronger connections with themselves and their customers. As a dedicated partner, coach, and leader, she has spent 20 plus years working with companies and brands like Four Seasons Hotel and Resorts, Marvel, Walmart, Hasbro, and most recently, Loblaws, Canada's largest national grocery retailer. It is clear she is passionate about people, team development, mindfulness, growth mindset, and problem solving. She is a coach, a Lean Six Sigma, and is back in school earning her mindful self-compassion teaching certifications. She has a long-standing mentor program involving several women around the community and is a member of Lean In Canada and Women in Film and Television, both networking groups to help accelerate opportunities for women in their careers. As part of her history being a leader, coach, and facilitator, she has had the opportunity to strategize, facilitate, design, and implement various types of programs, workshops, and training modules across organizations and teams. These have all had similar focus on growth, culture, evolution, excellence, and education. Welcome to the podcast, Jen.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today.
Great.
Thanks
Well,
for having me.
yes, we only have an hour, but in your bio, you've done so many things that, boy, I don't know. Maybe we just have to hit on the highlights here. Amazing things. So, why don't we start out by you just introducing yourself and telling people, where you started out, how you, got into film, how you got into coaching, how those pivots kind of happened.
Yeah, for sure. So the easiest way to say it is that I'm a Fortune 500, a former Fortune 500 exec turned mindful business coach. I spent 20 years of my career working with, and you did a great job kind of summarize some of these major corporations and brands. And during that time, I was a coach and leader in multiple organizations that are global nationals and really coaching and leading teams, focusing on really helping them change and transform in their organizations as a brand strategist and a marketing operation leader. And in that time, I also got my coaching certification. And I also met my husband about almost 14 years ago. We're kind of halfway through our 13th anniversary. And that's where my film and television background kind of came into play. My husband is a filmmaker. And when we met and we got married within 3 months of meeting each other.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's our story. We fell in love at first sight, if you believe in that. For the people there that believe in that, he proposed to me within 48 hours. And he and I actually incorporated our first company, which is Admit One Productions. Probably, I think it was within 3 months of having met. And so that's our baby company. That's our, and we've done many award-winning web series and productions through Admit One Productions over the last 13 years together. And that's like the hat that I say, that's the hat I wear at night. So I moonlight as a producer. And that's kind of one of my my passions, and it's served me really well in all of the work that I do in my mindful business coaching. And in my journey over the years, I found an attachment, and I would say about 10 years ago, to wanting to learn a little bit more about myself and understanding how to really help other people change, but first personally figuring out how I could change in my life. I was at a bit of a crossroads. I was kind of in a personal and a professional I want to say, opportunity in my life. It was a challenging time. This was around 2010, and I was going through a difficult time. For the first time in my life, I actually encountered a moment where I actually, I lost my job. Really, really difficult. And at the same time, I didn't know, I was kind of struggling with this identity crisis, I'm going to say, for myself. I didn't know where I wanted to go. And I was also, at the same time, my body was almost crying out to me. I had kind of gone through a health journey, and I was starting to get control over my physical fitness and my health. And at that point in my life, I was running quite a bit, but I literally ran myself into the ground, to the point that my doctor actually said to me at this moment in time, almost the same week that I lost my job, you can't do any physical activity. You have basically run your legs into the ground. And I think it was my reaction to stress. I just kept doing more. And I kind of heard the doctor, but I kept pushing, and my body just kept resisting. And then at the same time, my mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And so all of these things kind of happening at the same time, I was trying to figure out what was my best coping mechanism. And I remember I went for a massage, and my masseuse sort of said to me, wow, you've got a lot of stuff going on. He said, have you ever been to a naturopath? And at this point, my mindset was like, I kind of will do anything to, I'll kind of put my eggs in any basket. I'm kind of at wit's end here. So I went to this naturopath, and this was kind of my starting into my complete shift in my mindset and my evolution. And she started me on a journey where I completely changed my path forward. Now, it started with, obviously, and I'm not going to get into the story of my transition, my health transition, but she's the one that handed me the card, and she said, I think you should go and take a mindfulness course. And I said, oh, interesting. I've never heard of mindfulness before. At this point in my life, I'd heard the term, but I didn't know anything about it. And she said, listen, I think based on, the level of anxiety that you have, and at that point it was manifesting physically. I had developed like an eye twitch, and my body was obviously shutting down, and I had a lot of stress in my life. And she said, I think you should give this a shot. It's an 8-week course, and it was MBSR. People may be familiar with that or not, but mindful-based stress reduction, which was created by John Kabat-Zinn. And so I did. And that was the start of the transformation of my life. And I went into this course not knowing much. And after 8 weeks, I had started to cultivate a practice and a transition of a mindset that ultimately has taken me, now we fast forward to 10 years, now almost 11 years. And now I myself am getting certified, but it has literally changed me from a practice to a mindset that has given me the tools and the ability to see and change the way that I approach not only myself, but my work and my ability to manage the bigger and the smaller obstacles in life. And I was able to deal with those 3 things that I was talking about: my job change, my mom who passed away last year, the Parkinson's, and all that came with it over the years to come, and also my health changes. I was given all of the tools and the ability to go through that. And so because of all of that experience that I had, I knew, and the mindfulness, what it gave to me, I knew that this was something that I wanted to be able to share with other people at some point. But I wanted to be able to practice it myself for a while. And so that's what I did. I practiced it for 10 years before I really started to incorporate it as a business model. And now that's what I do, is I incorporate mindfulness as part of my business coaching.
Yeah, it seems like it was really needed, because so many of us, we just, we're driven. We want to get these goals. We want to accomplish so much. And it's praiseworthy to want to accomplish a lot and make an impact in the world, but not at the expense of our health and our well-being and our mental, emotional person.
Absolutely. And so it's very much been real. To your point, your question was like, what was my journey been? It's been, mindfulness has been part of my journey. And working in the corporate world has been part of my journey that has landed me to why I've become a mindful business coach, because I know that I can help others. I can help entrepreneurs now. I can take all of that experience that I've cultivated over the last 20 years. Now I can take all of the mindfulness training and experiences that I've learned for myself. I can bring all of that together. And now I'm in a position where I can share that with others. And so that's where my mindfulness business coaching comes into play. And that is something that I'm really, truly passionate about, and why I love coaching, is so that I can help others and set them up for success. And that's essentially where my heart is.
That's beautiful. So if you can remember back 10 years ago, when you were that person who basically, it sounded like everything was kind of falling apart. So you were that person where everything was falling apart, and you started taking this mindfulness course. Do you remember some of the small things you started working on? So, you did certain mindfulness things, and then you saw, oh, this is easier. Can you remember any examples of that from your early on time?
Yeah, so it's interesting because MBSR, the way that it's structured, and that's a learning for me, and I'm building my mindfulness, and why it's so important to me as we set up programs for today, and thinking about how entrepreneurs are today. So I think of the busyness and the time starvation, and the how do I think about making time to do more seems to be a critical concern for a lot of people. But so I'm going to get to, I'm answering your question. I'm just prefacing it with something, because the learning that I took is in MBSR. One of the things that is required as you go in as a commitment is that there's a lot of time required to put towards the work of building a practice of meditation, mindfulness, daily, weekly. One of the things that I believe, and I've seen over the years, which is why I wanted to sit with it, practice it, understand it, and build from there. And what we're building and what I'm building into my Art of Mindful Storytelling program and my Mindful Entrepreneur program that are coming in this year is that being realistic with how you build and evolve your mindset is really important. It's about being practical and realistic. So to say, one of the things that I think is really important is understanding that there's two types of practice when it comes to mindfulness. There's formal and there's informal. And formal is what I think people mostly associate with mindfulness and meditation, which is I'm going to take like a half-hour chunk of my time, and I'm going to sit down in a quiet space, and I'm going to meditate, which is beautiful. And I do that every day. I mean, it has a lot of meaning and purpose to my life, and it gives me a lot of positive benefits. Reduce stress, focus. It helps with the development of non-judgmental thinking. There's so many, and these are all scientifically backed facts. But for people that are starting out and have never toe dipped in the pond of a mindful practice, I always say the best way to kind of open the door and try something new is to make it easy and practical for yourself and step into the world of informal. And I'm not sure your experiences with mindfulness or mindful practice, but an informal can be something as simple as a moment, any moment during the day, where you just stop and you take a couple of seconds and you just pay attention. And it can be a great time for it is just as you're getting out of bed. I recommend this to a lot of people is just as you get out of bed, just stop for 2 seconds and just put your feet on the ground and ask yourself, how does that feel? How does the ground feel to you? Just close your eyes and take a breath and say, how does this ground feel to me? Just 2 words. And that's a mindful moment. And it's the same thing. You can do that multiple times during the day just to get into an experience of taking those moments of stopping and pausing and really noticing where you are, your surroundings. You can bring that into your work really easily. You can share that with even in a small business, you can share that with your team members.
For sure, because I know when I go to work, there's times when, some clients or patients come in and we all need a breath. The whole staff needs a breath once they leave,
To your point, it is amazing how much one breath can really do for everybody.
Yes, it really is. So, so if someone's just starting out, then if they just take those moments, that would be helpful. And then I know that now I meditate, but when someone used to tell me to meditate, I thought this was just too overwhelming. If you want me to meditate, how can I be there still and quiet and not all these thoughts come into my mind?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's such a, like you've hit on it exactly, and that's why it's something like in our programs and in a lot of the conversations that we have, we try to help people understand and educate a little bit more that the true definition of mindfulness is really about being in the present moment, here and now. It's not about good and bad. It's not about clearing the mind. It's actually just accepting what is. And so I literally had this conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and I said, if you're meditating and your mind is racing, but that is what is happening in the present moment, accepting it for what it is what mindfulness is about. It's okay, allowing yourself to accept that in this moment, my mind is racing. No judgment. That's okay. And I think we have, and it's interesting because I literally just did a post about, I called it what mindfulness is not. And I think there are sometimes these ideas that it's about bliss and, emptying our minds and like all these thoughts, but that's not necessarily what mindfulness is trying for us to achieve. It's about acceptance and non-judgment and trusting ourselves in these moments.
So if we go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so what about the executives that they're doing everything they can to claim more time so they can do more things, and then you say to them, okay, you need to spend time meditating and you need to take a break throughout the day and do these little moments, and they're thinking, you're not helping me get more time. What are you? Are they more productive when they do these things?
It's a really good question, and the answer is ultimately yes. It does increase productivity from because it increases focus, and it helps to increase focus when you can be more present and more aware, when your mind's not pulled in so many directions. If people can actually be focused on what they need to do here and now versus always scattered, always like the mind hyperactive, then absolutely there's an increase in productivity. It's the getting there, because I think in our world today, from my experience, everybody wants everything to happen right now. They want the results from what you're, when you propose something, and this is working with executives, they love the idea of the proposal. And even though you can present a pipeline or a timeline, they still want the results today.
Right.
it's that knowing that when you're transitioning mindset, I've done a lot of work in culture shift and change and transformation. You have to be really clear in knowing that changing mindset and shifting in mindfulness is actually, if you're willing to commit to it, it can evolve from a practice to a mindset. That's a lot of the work that I like to do, is to get people from a place of just practice to mindset. But whether you're an executive or not an executive, you have to be willing to commit to doing the work to get there, because it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a little light switch. We have to put in a little bit of effort in order to make it happen, but it is very sustainable.
Yeah, I was thinking about, a lot of times when people are in companies, they're in quite a few meetings, and I'm just picturing these people, they're all in a room. Well, now they're on their computers, but let's say they're all in a room.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, I grew up in the church. And so before we start anything, we bow our heads and we pray and bless the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, we bow our heads and we pray. So we're very mindful to bless the time, to be mindful of the time we're spending. And at the end, we give thanks for the time. And again, we're mindful again. So I know people aren't really doing religion when they go to their meetings, but I'm thinking, when you're working with people, do you ever just have them say, hey, before your meeting, we're all going to stop and do something? I mean, what kind of things do you have them do?
Yeah, so exactly. And I love that example. That sounds really beautiful, by the way. And I would say, like, the mindful version of that would be setting intention. So, and I do that in my coaching practice, where as you come into a coaching session, knowing, like, do you have your one word that defines the intention that you want to set for our session together? And we often will take a few minutes of just mindfulness at the beginning to just kind of get into this space, feel centered in the space that we're in. And you can do that over a Zoom chat.
Yes.
Like, it's amazing the energy that you can create amongst a group of people, even in a Zoom conversation, just by taking a moment and breathing together. And so even if it's 30 seconds, and then everybody just stating their intention, and then kind of regrouping at the end. Did everybody feel that their intention was met? And so those are very small, easy ways that groups, teams can come together and be a little bit more mindful and aware of each other.
Yeah, I really love that. I really love that thought. If you just went around the Zoom room and everyone just said one word.
Right.
If everyone just said one word, so you could do it quickly. Everyone says one word, and then you get into whatever you're doing. That would make the hugest difference. I mean, it would make such a difference in the whole meeting or whatever you're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And you can make it about, like, I think about, some teams meet every week, some teams meet every day, but you can have, like, this is my personal intention for the week. It can also help you set up for how you work with each other. right? So people can understand a little bit more about what each person in your group is really thinking about, what's important to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be a real enabler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you don't know if and other people don't know what we want or what we're thinking if we're not sharing. So I just love that idea.
Absolutely. And I think it also, it puts people into a position of engagement,
Mm-hmm.
communication, and sharing.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes, and I've heard this, I've gotten this as feedback from some of my, my clients and colleagues as well, is that with Zoom fatigue, we need to kind of incite engagement. We have to think of ways to get people to communicate and
Mm-hmm.
share.
Yeah, exactly. And that way everybody even gets, if it's only 1 second, they get to share.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, in meetings, a lot of times the same people talk all the time, the same people don't talk.
That's right. Yes, you get your power speakers.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I'd like to ask a little bit more about this mindful storytelling. I am very interested in what you have to say about that.
Thank you. It's called the Art of Mindful Storytelling. And really where it came from was at the time of the pandemic. Both my husband and I my husband's industry shut down. My husband works dominantly in film and television.
Mm-hmm.
He's, as I mentioned before, he's a filmmaker, and that industry shut down, as did most. And I had just finished a contract with, and you mentioned in the introduction, with Loblaws, which is Canada's largest national grocery chain. Mm-hmm. And so we were both, and that's when we started talking about, how do we take all of the experience that we have and bring it into something that will help more people. And so we decided to create the Art of Mindful Storytelling. A lot of our experience has been rooted in knowing that the foundation of what we do is really helping people master their storytelling, mm-hmm. so they can create connections, mm-hmm. and really skyrocket their brands. And so we thought this would be a really good way to put something together into a program or a package to do that, and mm-hmm. really share with not just corporations, but now to be able to share it with entrepreneurs and business owners. Mm-hmm. So that's what the Art of Mindful Storytelling is. And I think one of the things that I had learned, and Courtney had kind of learned with me over the years, is that I've done a lot of programs in corporations, and I've actually taken a lot of programs myself. We really wanted to, one of the gaps that we had experienced was the mindset piece. Mm-hmm. Really making sure that we include taking people on a journey and giving them the opportunity to build a sustainable mindset while they're going through a program that's actually going to transform and change their business. Mm-hmm. So the program is really geared toward aspiring and established mindful entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. that are really looking to use storytelling, master their storytelling, and skyrocket their brands. So it's we're in the build mode. We're building it. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it will be ready to launch in October. Mm-hmm. We're going to soft launch it with our affiliate partners and strategic partners, and then we're going to take it to market by the end of the year.
Oh, beautiful. So
yeah.
What's the difference between someone just telling a story about their business, yeah. and mindful storytelling?
Yes. So it's such an interesting question. So really, a mindful entrepreneur is somebody that is really taking the opportunity to kind of, I would say, use their energy and focus on awareness. They're transitioning intentionally their energy and focus to awareness, paying attention as it relates to their vision, mission, and why. And so a mindful entrepreneur that's sort of what I would say a mindful entrepreneur is. And so mindful storytelling is really using those moment-to-moment experiences that you create in your storytelling journey. And so whether it's in the process itself or the way that you're communicating your stories.
So when they're learning to tell these stories,
yeah,
how is it that they're connecting with people? What is the piece that connects?
So basically, when you're taking your story, for a lot of and a mindful entrepreneur, in most cases, their business is their passion. It is their why. And so their story is really coming from a place that's within their heart. It becomes their personal story and their business story are kind of one big molded piece together.
Right.
So the storytelling process becomes something that is defining moments through their life that kind of start almost at a very young age, all the way. It's like a journey. It becomes like I call it a story roadmap. And we take them actually through we call it a story incubator that tracks out all of the defining moments in their life into a story roadmap.
Okay.
And it literally goes right into all of the defining moments and the belief systems behind them. And that really creates all of these beautiful, almost chapters and micro moments. And as you go through that process, you start to really understand and cultivate your why, your mission, and your vision. From there, you can actually take your story and understand who you need to speak to and where you need to speak to them. It becomes a little bit clearer. But it's important to go through that journey of understanding your story. And I think people struggle with their story a little bit because we get a lot of our clients ask us, like, what portion of my story should I share? How vulnerable should I be? We hear a lot of that. How far back should I go? What's important, what's not important? I don't really feel like my story is of value. These are a lot of the common questions that we hear. And especially with entrepreneurs, they struggle with like trying to be too pragmatic and like the big story versus the folding in of the personal journey. So, and then to your point, it's like, then where do I share that story? Like, where do I go with my story and how do I communicate that? And that is a big part of what the Art of Mindful Storytelling does. Is it's an 8-week program that takes you from the very beginning of mindset, and it takes you all the way through to building your brand strategy, writing your story, and then taking it to market with confidence, and like unleashing your confidence, establishing your presence, and making sure you feel totally comfortable to put yourself out there wherever you need to be. And so I think, it's kind of exciting. We are partnering with a couple of industry thought leaders in some of the spaces where Courtney and I may not have expertise, like body language and presence, for instance, is one of the areas where we've partnered with someone. And then we're building what I call a digital incubator, where we're having industry experts come in and do modules for us on some of the dominant social platforms. Because storytelling is so important in each of the social platforms, depending on who you're speaking to. How you speak to them in each individual platform is different. So we want to make sure that everybody has the confidence to use the tools that they need to.
That's awesome. So where does the film come in on this? So are you actually, once you're teaching people, are you actually filming them, telling their story?
We do have a module that Courtney actually leads and facilitates. And it's all about, because we heard loud and clear when we interviewed people, we did a lot of research. There's a lot of fear around video and being present on video. And so we did feel it was really important to help people get past that fear and be able to show up on camera like an expert. And that's Courtney has been doing that for 25 years. He's been not only behind the camera, but also in front of the camera, and he's been coaching people. We call it camera ready coaching. So he's going to be providing a full module, and we do one-on-one coaching throughout the whole program. And so that people can really feel like they have that confidence to get up in front of a camera and know some of the tips and tricks to shooting themselves as well. So there's definitely not only video, but also audio, because some, again, hearing your voice, some people like really don't like the sound of their voice. So we get into a lot of the different pieces and the aspects.
That's awesome. And then thinking about the filming the story. So a lot of times if people are speakers or they're going out into the world in some public forum, they'll have like a sizzle reel, so there's a sizzle reel and then there's the story. So what's the difference between having a sizzle reel and actually having that film that tells your story?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously it's like the long form versus the short form. Yeah. And we actually talk about both. So we talk about like how to like short form micro edit and what key messaging. We talk about like power of words. And so that like you've hit on a very interesting point, because we actually we have a whole section obviously on writing and scripting and power of words and impact and like knowing your audience and all of those pieces, because as you write your story in the way that content verticals are today, it's a lot about micro messaging and more sizzle, but your long form story has a place too. And so we do, and that's where when we build this story incubator, it's set up so that you have both versions and actually look at shooting and writing both ways, long form and short form. So we go through both from I'm going to say from a visual, a video, writing, and a writing format.
Beautiful. Well, there's so many things I'm sure people would love to, work with you and for different reasons, depending on where they're coming from. So if people wanted to get a hold of you or work with you, do you have a website or an email or someplace they could?
Absolutely. So I have Instagram, which is Double J Lifestyle, which is the word double J Lifestyle. That's the same for the website is doublejlifestyle.com. And then specifically to the video production, it's admitone.ca. So in any of those places, they can actually reach out and connect, and happy to answer questions, and very, very happy to connect in any capacity. And we will be launching our wait list for the Art of Mindful Storytelling in the next 2 weeks. So
okay, that was my next question. So you just answered it. Hey, so that's coming up soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I literally just finished the layout of the landing, like the landing page and everything, which is, really exciting. And I'm sharing it with the web designer today. So I'm hoping all things going well, then it'll be up and ready to go in the next 2 weeks. And we're going to basically build a wait list for the first launch of it, which is really exciting. And we've had a lot of positive feedback. So I'm very, very excited. I'm really open to hear from people as well, what they need and what they're looking for.
Yeah, exciting. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So just going back on a personal note, what gives you the most happipiness, joy, fulfillment in your life right now?
My husband and my dog, DJ. They're the two most amazing things that give me the most joy always. Like knowing that my husband's coming home at the end of the day, and that, I love spending time with my dog. Like the
Mm-hmm.
two of them, the most amazing things.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. So you've taken that mindfulness and now you can enjoy your husband and your dog. When you look back
Yeah.
10 years ago, do you think you would enjoy them as much as you are now?
You know what? I was, no, I don't know that I had the capability to see that, what was in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
which, that's why I'm so grateful
Mm-hmm.
to have spent the time that I have, learning. And I still learn oh gosh, I'm learning so much all the time, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, community, my community around me.
Mm-hmm.
But and I hope I continue to, but that is something that I have really grown into, for sure.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing all your gifts, and so excited about your course coming up.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that we got to spend more time together. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed our conversations previously, and I look forward to staying connected
All
as
right.
we move forward.
Great. I have one last question before we get off.
Sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
What is your best advice for the most amazing, incredible life?
Oh, my best advice stays the same. It's be kind. It serves you. It serves everyone. Kindness takes you miles, and it's one of the easiest things to do.
Really?
So simple, but in its practice, it's just I've learned over the years that kindness is just one of the best things that you can share with people.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. And we'll talk to you again soon.